But what advice would you give to someone else who's looking to break out of the corporate world and who has a vision of their own, regardless of the industry? What kind of advice would you give someone looking to make that move themselves?
I would say get your money up. That's number one.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it takes money
Yeah.
to do what I'm doing. So that's the first thing is get your money up. Because some people say use other people's money. I don't have time to fill out all that paperwork.
What's going on, good people? It's another episode of the Cook Up. Once again, we live on location at Cutters.
Colors at Willis.
Willis, shout out to Willis.
And today we have a very special guest, Moundville's very own George James, owner of Vorieo Cigar line. Super happy to have you here. It's an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure, man.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I want to start with, how did you get into this industry to become like your own manufacturer? You own the entire operation,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so give us a little backstory on how you got into the cigar business, and we'll just carry from there.
Well, the way I started in the cigar industry, it started out pretty simple. I was at the University of Alabama. That's where I graduated. So roll tide.
Roll
Roll Tide.
There you
You hear that? Roll
Roll Tide,
Tide.
baby.
Yes, sir.
So I started out there, and it was a gentleman by the name of Patrick Cox. I don't like to call out names, but Patrick, shout out to Patrick. He put me on game about a tobacco company by the name of R.J. Reynolds. And he was like, well, what I'm going to do is make sure you get a job. So what he was doing, he was helping out a lot of brothers getting into the industry, the tobacco industry. So he would definitely recruit black brothers. And I thought that was pretty dope on what he did. So I started working out with that company and got promoted to several different positions. And then the next thing I did was I worked for another tobacco company. And then I said, well, you know what? It's time for me to start my own thing. A lot of people were saying, George, you're very intuitive. You're smart. You need to start your own business. So what happened, my wife and I was on a vacation and met this gentleman. And the gentleman was like, hey, I have someone that you need to meet. And I met a gentleman and bought out everything that he had. So that's how I got into the tobacco industry.
Boss move. I bought him out.
I bought him out. Did enough work to go on vacation and went and bought a business?
Mm-hmm.
Look at
Yeah,
man.
that is a boss move.
He Frank Lucas his situation.
At 2014, what was your mindset when you was getting ready to say, okay, I'm finna embark on this? Because I don't want to tell your story, but I just was looking at it, and and I'm like, okay, I said you was working in the tobacco industry, and then around that time you just decided that you can do it yourself.
Well, what happened, man, in the tobacco industry is pretty tough. You have sales, you have different retailers you have to deal with. And when you're in the corporate America world, corporate America is pretty rough, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So me, I always thought like a boss. I always wanted to be a boss. And I was like, it's opportunity for me to start my own business because, in corporate America, I really didn't like the structure on how they had things. So I was like, I can be a better and more efficient owner. So in 2014, I was in Nashville, Tennessee. And I decided, I said, you know what? I'm just going to start this business and just go on faith. Because I kept talking about it and, I had all the pieces to the puzzle in place. It's just that, putting all that stuff together. Making it work, like logistics and making sure my pricing is right, making sure, distribution is good when it comes to logistics and things like that. So my wife said, stop talking about it and be about it, And sometimes
she gave you that push.
She gave me that push, and I looked at it. I was like, "What you say?" She was like, "I was like, you talking to me
You
like
down
that?"
with me?
You know what I'm saying?
Kid to the youth out there, ain't nothing like having a strong woman.
Exactly, man. It's
like
nothing like having a strong woman, and she pushed me, and she was like, "Go on and, do what you need to do." And that's what I did, man. I said, you know, I'm just going to take my vision and show the world my vision. But see, I'm an artistic person. I was telling a guy in an interview I did a couple weeks ago that I can't draw, but I'm a visionary person.
Right.
And I think, you know, having a vision goes a long way.
So when you say you made that decision, your wife said, stop talking, be about the action. So you did that.
Right.
What was that moment? When was that moment when you realized that it was going to work? Like you had put all your eggs in this basket somewhat. So when was that moment that you say, what, you know what? This is it. I made the right decision.
Right.
This is going to work. Do you recall what that moment was?
Absolutely. My logos were different. I had a lion with a crown on his head. So that was the initial first logo of Vorieo Cigars. And when I brought that to market, everyone in Nashville area, I did it first in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was selling out like crazy. It was in multiple stores. There were people in the surrounding area and surrounding counties that wanted the product as well. But I started seeing like the lion on everyone's product, and I was like, man, I got to differentiate my product.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
I don't want it to, you know, look like someone else's product. So what I did was I said, you know, I need to research a little bit more. I started researching, and then I went to Egypt, and that's what changed the game.
Your factory that makes the cigars.
Right.
Have you been over there?
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
have? I mean, you can roll one?
Ooh, roller. I'm not a big roller.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I have different Cuban rollers who are there rolling cigars. They're very experienced. And that's the one thing you would notice is that my cigars are handmade and it's not machine made. It's a major difference between hand roll versus machine roll.
Right, because I've noticed in the 4 that I've tried all of them,
Right.
I don't get the tunneling effect.
Exactly.
Like on some of the
Exactly.
cigars I get, like
Right.
it just burn in the middle and the outside. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't like that because you
Right.
messing the cigar up. But
It is.
I noticed the difference.
Absolutely, and the unique thing about one thing about my cigars is how well it's blend, and then the leaves are age over 5 years. You know, some people when you smoke their cigars, it's not
fine
aged appropriately,
Right.
but it's like it's under 5 years, and you would start to notice that it has a lot of acid in the tobacco leaf,
Right.
and that's one unique thing about my cigars. They're very smooth. You see what I'm saying?
Ain't all that because I thought
True
they were gonna
indeed.
be harsh.
True indeed.
I like
Well,
it.
Back onto the art
Uh-huh.
of what you got going on, and the duck in the sun.
I like
All
that.
right, so duck in the sun.
Uh-huh.
First time I saw it, I looked into it a little more
Yeah.
because I really wanted to see. I knew it had to be something else to it,
Yeah.
and then I looked into it a little bit. I learned a little bit about it, and then I also saw you explain it, and then you also once mentioned that it's like being a pharaoh, like the
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so with that being said, kind of explain to us and explain to the world how you are the pharaoh of the cigar industry now.
Well, you know, I'm definitely I look at myself as the pharaoh of the new, you know, of the cigar industry and the new pharaoh or the original pharaoh. You see what I'm saying? And when I went to Kemet, and that's what we call it, Kemet, but you know some people say Egypt, but you know when I went to Kemet, I noticed that the duck and sun was above every cartouche. Okay, cartouche is a French word, but the real word is chenou. Chenou. So when I saw it above the chenou, I was like, man, what's going on with this? And then I started noticing that the duck is a unique bird. Okay, and the unique thing about the duck is that the duck can swim, it can fly, and it can live on
land.
it can float on water, and it can live on land.
Right.
Okay, so that's one of the most diverse and unique birds that you will ever see. When they did the duck and sun, that's what that was supposed to symbolize. And then you got the sun, Ra, or, you know, sun god or whatever. You know, during ancient times, the sun was very important. And you got to think about the sun and vegetation and things of that nature. It helps with vegetation. Everyone needs the sun, especially, you know, black people. We got to have the sun, vitamin D.
Right.
Okay. A lot of us be vitamin D efficient. So when I was there, I started noticing that the sun played a major part in the black culture that was there, because all the pharaohs were black except for, you know, in the later dynasties, like the invasions and people that was in like the 30th dynasty, okay? Majority of them was, I would say all of them was black unless it was an invasion, okay? And when you go there, you would see it, okay? And when I saw the duck in the sun, it just resonated with me, sons of God. So what the pharaohs would do, or the sultans, sometimes we say pharaohs, but the real word is sultan, okay? But I'll say pharaoh for right now. But the pharaohs, what they would do is the parents would put the duck in the sun above their shanu or cartouche. They would put it above there, and that was supposed to symbolize their birth name.
Yeah, I thought we just gonna sit here and talk about cigars. You didn't realize you was gonna get you a history lesson today.
This life, because it's a lot going to what's going on and what you're doing, even especially when you start speaking with the art, because we looking at not only just a cigar brand, but the way you marketing this cigar brand.
Right.
Like when you pulling out your product, I'm automatically looking over here like, oh, I like these designs and what does this mean? So let me go over here, and before I even make it to the cigar, I'm intrigued about what's going on with the brand and the company.
Well, with Vorieo Cigars, it's telling a story. And I told one guy, I says, it's a story and narrative from a black man's perspective, okay?
Right.
It's my narrative. And when you look at the narrative, it's 100% accurate. I'm not lying about anything. I've done the field research. I went there. I've been there. So everything I'm saying, you can fact check. See what I'm saying? Like you said, you went back and did your research.
Yeah. I wanted
You
to
can
look at
fact check. And when you're looking at that white box, this white box here, the 4 count, actually the way I designed it, it's supposed to be like a book. So when you open it up, the Eastern world read from right to left. The Western world read from left to right. So you have to figure out which way you want to read the story.
Gotcha.
But I prefer to read the story from right to left because it makes sense on what I'm telling. Because, with the duck in the sun, that's just letting you know sons of God. Then you have John Canoe, which is very important. That's the barber stripe pole. And John Canoe has my face on there.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that.
Absolutely.
So how did you come up with that idea that you want to use your face for that particular cigar, the John Canoe?
Well, when I went to Egypt, everyone had their face on everything. That was like the official seal. That was the official stamp. Let me put my face on it. They wasn't ashamed of their face. Now, you have foreigners come in, knock the noses off, knock the lips off because the foreigners didn't have the same face and the same nose and same lips. See, our people in the past had confidence. And that's what it's about. It's about confidence. A lot of people told me not to put a black face on there. And I told them, I said, I am. And if it doesn't sell, who cares? But I did it.
I did it, right.
And it's not just a black face. It's a black person from America face. You see what I'm saying? And no one has done that.
Yeah. Tell us about the name Vorieo.
Okay. Vorieo was given to me by my family. Vorieo means king of the sun. Okay. So
that's a childhood nickname, correct?
Yeah, childhood nickname. But
sun
everybody
again.
that know me, they call me Vorieo. And I graduated from Hillcrest High School. So everybody at Hillcrest High School, they know me as Vorieo.
We from Central.
I know y'all from Central. I'm driving here. That's why I had to throw that out there. Go Patriots.
Not gonna get no love on that one. I give you your roll tide all day. But I'm not gonna give you that.
Hey, Central is serious about their school, man.
Even with the name and everything that's into it. So basically, this been brewing since your beginning.
It's tattooed on me.
It's tattooed on you.
Right.
It's almost like, when you given that name at childhood, even though the people gave that name, didn't realize it, or you didn't realize it as a child, but it was like, this was your destiny. That name,
Exactly.
you was ordained to be what you're doing.
Exactly.
Breaking barriers in an industry.
Right.
Man, I love it. I love everything you represent, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And like I said, it's tattooed on me. So you got the sun on my right arm, and you got Vorieo on the left arm. So it's in ink. You know what I'm saying? And I did that at, I think I was like 18, 17, 18, when I did that. So I knew the vision, but sometimes, like I said, you got to be patient.
Right.
You know, and you got to put the pieces together before you go out there, because sometimes some people move a little too fast and they put something out there and it's not as quality.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, not saying that this was easy. It wasn't easy. It just took a lot of time.
Yeah, see, and that's what I want to know. What was one of the biggest obstacles you had to go through to get where you are today? If you can just name
That's
one.
a good question. Let me take a smoke on that one.
Yeah, take your time. Think about it now. Biggest
I
obstacle.
think the biggest obstacle that I faced was people saying that black people can't produce good quality product. That black people can't produce good quality product. I think that was the biggest obstacle, because you can have a luxury vision, luxury items. So when I presented my product, I wanted to present a reasonable price product, but luxury. Because I feel as if, we know about luxury. It's just that people don't give us the opportunity when it comes to marketing to market to a certain demographic. They always keep us in hip hop.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And every conversation you have with some people, it's always like a hip hop conversation. But it's like, let's talk about producing a brand. Let's talk about demographics. Let's talk about the metrics of marketing, and not just the metrics of marketing. Let's just talk about our narrative, so we can get our narrative out and not be ashamed of our narrative.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that obstacle. That was an obstacle on multiple layers, because it was psychological, and then there was also presented barriers in the workplace. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get into the game itself. So yeah, I can understand that.
I know I saw one thing you was talking about. The 4 Ps played a major role in that. How did you implement that in what you got going on today?
That's a great question. When it comes to the 4 Ps, I think some people say now it's the 5 Ps. There's no 5 Ps.
No 5 Ps.
4 Ps. Now, I was a
Ps.
marketing major. I want to make sure my education is correct. First of all, lay out the 4 Ps and let me see if I agree. If I need to go exchange my degree real quick.
The first thing I always look at is the product.
Product.
Okay. You got to make sure you have a good quality product. When you look at Vorieo Cigars, I have really good quality product, from the hinges on the boxes to the boxes itself. It's all cedar boxes.
Right.
Okay, that's number one. Some people, they cut corners. I don't cut corners on anything. Even with my cigar rings, or we call them cigar bands. It's made by one of the top producing companies in the Dominican called Cigar Rings. So they don't just produce any type of cigar bands. They produce good quality cigar bands, such as other, big companies that are out there. So then I'm looking at pricing, okay? You got to make sure that your pricing is right. I don't have to go through anyone. I don't have a middleman. So a lot of these companies that are out there, even black-owned, they have to go through other people, okay? So everybody is touching the product. So by the time you get to the product, it's going to be super expensive.
Right.
Me, I don't have to do that, okay? So then we're looking at the placement of the product, okay? I want to make sure that the product is placed in the right locations. I don't place it anywhere. You're not going to find Vorieo Cigars all over the place. I tell them, even when you find luxury items, you don't find luxury items all over the place.
Right.
So I want it to be with people who are very intuitive and who are educated about the industry, okay? And then promotion. This is what I'm doing now, promotion. Having promotional products such as the Duck in the Sun hats, making sure that I have the accessories to accommodate the smokers. So those are the 4 Ps that I look for.
Yeah,
now tell me if I'm right.
That checks out. That checks out. That checks out.
They check out.
We good. We good.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm saying.
I feel like I owe you some money now for taking me to school.
I'm
Yeah,
telling
that
you.
checks out. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to make sure they weren't teaching me some garbage, but no, they taught me correct.
No, that's how you got to look at marketing in
Yeah.
anything you do.
4P for sure.
It's the 4 Ps.
So
Absolutely.
even with the marketing, and then just say we push it a little farther, saying that you went to the UA, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So every Tennessee game after they beat Tennessee, they break out cigars.
Right.
What are the chances that we can have these Vorieo cigars being broke out?
Right. Well, my good friend Sean, DJ Eclipse. He had brought some cigars when I first was getting started. He had took some cigars to the UA. And a lot of the football players, you know, Ryan Taylor, a lot of those guys, they were smoking Vorieo cigars. Just that I didn't promote it as heavy like I should have. But they were smoking those Vorieo cigars at that time. But now, moving forward, everybody during that Tennessee game, y'all better get some Vorieo cigars.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
We pushing Vorieo.
Absolutely.
That's what we got to smoke.
We pushing
man.
Vorieo.
That's
Yeah.
mandatory.
Cause see,
Mandatory.
I see this man came from here.
Exactly.
He went there,
Yep.
and we need to put him on a bigger stage.
Exactly.
Break those. Let them see those labels when
So-
y'all bring out those cigars. When we smack Tennessee around next
All
year.
y'all guys do. Any UA players that's listening, if you know a football player personally, make sure for Tennessee when we whoop their ass next year that they smoking Vorieo cigars after their
Vorieo
game.
cigars.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
You a big hip hop fan?
Put your
Man, I love hip hop, man. Hey, let me tell you something about my cigars.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know. The cartouche that's on that front box. Okay, let me see if I can grab it here. The cartouche that's on this box here.
Right.
Okay. You see how it braided?
Right.
That's supposed to symbolize a Cuban link chain.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm a hip hop fan.
Hip hop fan. All right.
So I incorporated hip hop into the Vorieo cigars. Absolutely.
See, a lot of people would have missed that.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite hip hop song?
Mm.
I mean, you talking about hip hop. Favorite hip hop song?
Wow, that's a good one. Favorite hip hop song is I gotta go with Nas. I Know I Can.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Got a friend in me.
I'm telling you. He's hang with us. He's a part of the crew,
You
baby.
went Nas on us.
He
I can
went
respect
Nas.
that. So you launched this brand, this business, 2014. So this is your 8th year
Right.
being in the marketplace,
Uh-huh.
approaching a decade. 2 years away from 10 years in it.
Yep.
When you set out to do this on your own, how has your expectations met the reality of where you are now? Did you see yourself being at this point, at this stage in the game, or has it exceeded expectations? Are you right on track, or how would you sum up that situation for you?
That's a good question about my expectations. I think as a visionary person, I'm right on track because
Gotcha.
this is what I visualize. This is what I stayed patience for. I have patience for, and that's what I tell everyone is you got to have patience. You see what I'm saying? And you need balance as well, because I might think I know everything, but I don't. Every day is an educational process. So what I had to do is educate myself. I had to make sure that I'm researching, the culture, getting those analytics, making sure I take those analytics and utilize it with my product when it comes to product placement, making sure every retailer understands and educated about my product, and making sure that I have the right product in the right place at the right time.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that I have 4 different wrappers and I have 4 different sizes. So every size is not for every retailer.
Right.
Right.
So I had to look at those metrics and had to make those final decisions to say, hey, 6x50 Toro might work at this shop, but a double Corona, which is a 7.5 by 55, might work at this shop because they have an older demographic and things like that. So with me, it's just educating myself daily.
Yeah, and speaking on the placement of your product, I heard you say in a prior interview that you did that right now your distribution is about 70-30. 70 being online retail and then 30% being brick and mortar.
Yes.
Where are you in terms of the brick and mortar stores? Like what cities and states are you located in currently?
I'm in Georgia. I'm in, Alabama, Tennessee. You can go to my website and you can go to the retailer location and you can type in your zip code. Even before you type in your zip code, it will give you all the different locations I'm at. So I'm like in the West Coast. I'm in Northeast, Southeast. I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
When it comes to distribution, I think I'm in about 26 stores, 26, 27 stores that I did on my own.
What advice would you give to someone, and not specific to the cigar industry or the tobacco industry, but what advice would you give to someone else who's looking to break out of the corporate world and who has a vision of their own, regardless of the industry? What kind of advice would you give someone looking to make that move themselves?
I would say get your money up. That's number one.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it takes money
Yeah.
to do what I'm doing. So that's the first thing is get your money up. Because some people say use other people's money. I don't have time to fill out all that paperwork. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then they charge me interest on top of, what I'm borrowing. I tell people, get your money up. That's number one. Once you get your money up, then go and focus on your intellectual property, such as your logos, your trademark and things like that. Because I own all that 100% as well. You see what I'm saying? So if anybody out there using my stuff, you will get sued, okay?
Boss move.
Boss move.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then once you focus on those two things, money, intellectual property, that's when you start, developing your business. Get you a good team, get you an attorney, get you an accountant, and things of that nature to help you run your business.
Yeah. Very technical, sound advice. Get your money up.
Get your money up.
Protect your intellectual property and get your team in place. Specifically, a good lawyer.
Good lawyer.
Good lawyer, absolutely.
Good lawyer.
Out the gate. Don't wait till you run into an issue to try to find. Yeah.
Which one of your cigars your favorite, or you don't have one? I want to hear. Yeah, all of my babies.
They like my children.
Like
You
my
can't
children,
pick a favorite. Yes, you can.
Yes, you
I'm my
can.
mother's favorite, so you can do it.
Whoa, whoa.
That's a fact.
Don't say that, baby.
Well,
No, I was just kidding.
Here's the thing. This is what I tell everyone. I say I graduated, okay? So I started out with the Connecticut's. That was my favorite at one point. And then I went towards the Connecticut, which is the first platinum, okay, First King's Platinum. I started out with that one because, I was like, let me just start out with this one. And then I graduated to the John Canoe, which is the Barber Stripe Pole. Then I went to the Habano, and now I'm at the Maduro. So Maduro is actually my favorite right now.
Gotcha. So speaking of that, since you are hands-on in pretty much every aspect of the cigar business, your business, just break down the differences of the different types of cigars that you just named for a novice. Different between the Maduro and the Connecticut. What can they expect when they, pick up one of the four?
Well, the first thing they can expect, is, when it comes to each of my lines, is that you're going to notice that all my fillers are Dominican, okay? That's number one. Then number two, you're going to notice that I use Indonesian tobacco, okay? Indonesian tobacco is like an old cigarette industry type of tobacco that we used back in the cigarette industry. So what I did was I said, let me try to blend, Indonesian tobacco with the cigars, and it works because what it does, it makes it super smooth.
Oh,
Okay, so it's a smoother transition from the foot to the head of the cigar. And then in the middle, you would notice that it gets real smooth, and then it has just a little hint of spice, but it's not too spicy because some cigars, they're very spicy, and then afterwards, you can taste
you
that
can
spice.
taste it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying. You taste it all day, the next day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with my cigars, it's not like that. And the unique thing about it is when starting with the Habano cigar, it's an Ecuadorian wrapper. Okay, so Ecuador, when you're using the Ecuadorian tobacco, majority of the time it's also like a bolder appearance. And when you're looking at the wrapper, has a lot of oil on it, and it sometimes has a little flavor, but a lot of the flavor comes from the filler itself. But the difference between those is that what I try to do is give everyone the top four perspectives of the cigar wrappers. The first one is the Connecticut. A person that's a novice, they would start out smoking a Connecticut.
Right.
Then I got the Barber Stripe Pole. I'm giving you the best of both worlds because the Connecticut is more of a mild. Barber Stripe Pole, which is the John Canoe, is more of a medium body, and with the Habano wrapper, which is the duck in the sun, it's more of how would I describe it? It's more of a medium body as well. And then when you get to the Maduro, it's kind of like this is the final phase of that person becoming a connoisseur of the tobacco industry. So then they get that more darker Maduro. And a lot of people don't do that Maduro this dark. But me, I do it this dark because it's the old Cuban tradition.
Okay.
On how I ferment the actual leaf itself and how we roll it as well.
So essentially, for a novice, they want to start with the Connecticut.
Yeah.
And
I would say
like
Connecticut,
yourself,
yeah.
you kind of graduate up to the Maduro.
Absolutely.
If you come into Cutters to buy Vorieo cigar, you may not want to start where he is right now. You may want to start out with the Connecticut, get a good feel for it, and as you graduate, then work your way up to the Maduro.
Exactly, and you work your way up. And John Canoe is also a pretty good cigar as well.
I like the barber stripe myself.
Yeah, the barber stripe it gives you a balance of both worlds. You know what I'm saying?
And something you said is probably the most underrated thing you said so far was like that aftertaste of smoking certain cigars. Man, like to not have to deal with that, to smoke a cigar and just go on about your day without having that taste in your mouth all day long. That's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's definitely huge.
Especially for a novice, because that was like not initial smoked. I first smoked a cigar. That aftertaste was like a turnoff.
Right.
But then I smoked a few more, and then I kind of got used to it. But then I have smoked a few of yours, and I don't have that issue.
You don't have it.
So I mean,
You don't have it. That's the first thing I noticed when I tried your cigars. Because I probably started them trying cigars.
Right.
And every cigar I had an aftertaste, and I'd be like, I'm not gonna smoke one for another week or two.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
But after I smoke yours, I was like, I can do this on a daily when I kick back.
Right. And that's what it's about, man. It's about kicking back. It's about relaxing, hanging out with your fellas, hanging out with your lady. Cigars is one of those things that was taboo at one point. But now you're starting to see more people out there smoking cigars. And what I mean by taboo is that a lot of people was just smoking them at home. You see what I'm saying? Now it's more of a public thing, and then you have Cutter Cigars, which is here, here in Northport, Alabama. You can come to this lounge and just hang out and kick it with your friends.
Yeah, and
Chop it up with Willie.
Chop it up with Willie.
That's the best place in the city for me.
In the city,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
what got us here. Like you said, it started out, at a point where people smoking at home.
Right.
But this feels like a home environment when I get here. So that's what keep us here.
The thing is, it was obstacles getting here and being here in my home state, because a lot of people, they just, I don't know, man, they I don't know if it was hate or I don't know what it was. They just wouldn't carry Vorieo cigars. And you had people going into certain locations asking for Vorieo cigars, and these people still wouldn't carry the Vorieo cigars. But now we're here.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? We're making it happen. We're not going anywhere. This is a really good, clean facility, good, clean environment. And what you're going to see tonight, you're going to see black excellence tonight.
That's what's
Like
up.
excellence.
Couldn't say it no better.
Personified in yourself, I may say. From our initial conversation, I knew you were a very strategic individual.
Thank you.
You struck me as a person who cross every T and dot every single I.
Oh, yeah.
And you know where every penny is.
Right.
Yeah, because we talked back in November during the Iron Bowl, actually.
Right.
You had me scheduled out for 3 months out, and you knew pretty much every weekend what you had going on. Man, that's impressive.
Man.
I kid you not. After talking to you, I went and got my Google Calendar. I said, I got to do better.
He put us on schedule.
Oh, really?
He said, man, we got to get, we going to get this right
Just
from
from
now on.
a phone
From
call,
a
I
phone
can just
call.
tell how
Real
you
talk.
carry
Man, know what
yourself.
he's doing for the next 3 months, and I'm like, you know what, you're right. We
You
gotta
right.
get it together.
We got to get it together.
But the type of individual you are just lets me know what type of quality
Right.
people can the quality of person that you are is reflected in your product.
Absolutely.
100%.
Thank you. And that was the vision, because I think that a lot of people have this, I guess, stereotype about black people in general producing good product. And I tell everyone, the The product is made for everyone. We make product for everyone.
Right.
But it's going to involve my culture, from my narrative, from a black man's narrative. And, you know, you can buy the cigars and enjoy the experience, because that's what it's really about. It's about the experience. It's about always staying organized. It's about making sure that you're producing something that's good quality. Because when someone puts Vorieo Cigars up against, you know, some of the bigger names, some of the guys with more brand equity, they're going to say, wow, Vorieo Cigars is right up there with them.
Right.
You know, from the aesthetics of the box all the way to the richness of the tobacco. People are going to put me on that level with them. And what it takes is brothers like you all, you know, saying, hey,
And
we're
you
going to
all.
support, and you all as well,
Exactly.
absolutely, saying that, hey, I'm going to support Vorieo Cigars, and that's where it starts.
Exactly.
You know,
100%.
and I tell people I did this from my vision, but you guys can see the vision too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone can see the vision all over the world. Like I
Right.
said, you know, I put a Bible scripture on my wrapper. It has a Bible scripture, 1 Kings 6 chapter 29 verse. Is on the gold and platinum box. Then you got my face on there, okay, celebrating, you know, black people from America. You know what I'm saying? Celebrating black people in Africa. You know, this is a face that can be, you know, used all over the world, globally. Okay, and then you got the duck in the sun, you know, the original place that you can go to find some of the artifacts that are still standing.
Mm-hmm.
Still standing, guys. You see what I'm saying? That was created by the best engineers in the world.
In the world.
You see what I'm saying? So, to me, I felt like in my spirit, I had to do something that was quality, and I had to make sure I stamped it to let people know that this is a good quality product.
That's what I'm talking
You know what
about.
I'm saying?
Sir.
Man, I love it.
Yes, sir.
I love it, man.
George
Definitely.
James.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
2 first names.
Two first name.
There you go.
Let us know where we can find you,
Okay.
because I know that's what the people that's the first thing they're gonna ask. Well, where can we get this stuff online, and where can we find them online so we can see all this fun he having across the world and stuff? So let them know.
Well, you know, first of all, you guys can find the cigars here at Cutter's Cigars, Northport, Alabama. Come visit Willie, and he has the cigars here. So that's the first place you can find the cigars. Now, social media, you can find me on Instagram at Vorieo, V as in Victor, Orieo. Just follow me on Instagram, and you will see the journey, and you can go back and look at some of the pictures and see how I evolved, okay? Like I tell everyone, I didn't just come out with this just going hard.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to evolve and get an understanding of what you're doing, and you will see that evolution in Vorieo Cigars. I try to keep it real. I keep it with real photos. I don't try to do all that Photoshop stuff, you know, because I'm too real for that, okay? So I want people to see the authentic pictures, and some people are like, well, you know, why you put that person on there? You shouldn't put that person. You should put this. I said, man, I put whoever I want on there.
Exactly.
See what I'm saying? And the reason why I do that is because I deal with real people every day.
Right.
See what I'm saying? I'm not Hollywood, so I don't deal with celebrities and stuff like that every day. I deal with real people, so I want real people on my page. So when you go to my page, you will see real people, okay? Not no people, Photoshop people.
Right.
And that's the differentiation, again, with Vorieo Cigars. You know, I try to keep it real. I try to keep it authentic. And another thing that I tell everyone, you can, it's on Facebook. So basically what we do is I have someone running the Instagram page. We'll copy it from Instagram, put it on Facebook. So Instagram and Facebook is kind of identical. But mainly
right.
just Instagram, just follow me, V as in Victor, Orieo. Look it up.
Tell us something interesting about George James so we could take home.
Something interesting about George James. I like to fish.
Fishing.
Fish. Okay.
That's a perfect hobby that's a perfect activity for a cigar smoker because it's both kind of relaxing.
Mm-hmm. It relaxes you. I like to fish, and I also like to have mental care for myself, like going to the spa. I encourage every male to go to the spa. You see what I'm saying? Because what happens is, man, as I say, I'm from Alabama, so we say we get the kinks out of you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to get those kinks out of you sometimes, and sometimes you need to go fishing. If you haven't tried fishing, go out there and fish, because what it does, it relaxes you, and it puts you in a mental state where you can be creative.
Success or happiness, and however you view that, if it's a blend of the two, just explain your answer, if you will.
Success and happiness. I would say I go for happiness first. You see what I'm saying? And the reason why I say that, success, you can be on an island by yourself and have all the money in the world.
Lonely at the top.
Lonely at the top, and nobody like you. For me to come back to my city, my state, and get respect, that's happiness to me. It ain't to me. It's about the money. I ain't gonna sit here and trip. It's about it's about the money too. But at the same time, because what the money does, it opens up avenues for you to donate money. It opens up avenues for you to maybe invest in a brother that you see trying their best to do something. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's about happiness, man. Can we sit down and chill like we're doing right now and just have a conversation and just talk? It ain't no random. It ain't no script. Is brothers just sitting down talking. You see what I'm saying? So that's, to me, that's happiness and staying healthy.
Happiness and health.
That's it.
Would you rather be embarrassed or afraid?
I would say afraid. And the reason why is because a lot of people say that, fear, it what takes you from your course. I think that fear builds that ambition, curiosity. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you got some people that fear to even smoke a Vorieo cigar.
Right.
So I love fear. I embrace it.
This is my last question. It's just personal for me. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if you're a big reader or not, but if you are, what book would you recommend someone pick up? And what is your favorite book?
Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James.
Is you?
No, the older guy.
How did you happen to stumble across your favorite book being written by somebody with the same name?
That was crazy, because when I was in high school, I had in high school I had a professor or teacher who was telling me about, I think what class was that? I think it was like a history class, and I was talking about ancient Egyptians back then in high school. And I think it was like in the year 2000, right before I got ready to graduate. I'm telling my age now. But the gentleman was like, hey, George, I would like for you to try to read something that's different, that's outside of your scope. And I was like, what do you mean outside of my scope? He said, I want you to read something that's written by your people. And he gave me this book, George G.M. James, called Stolen Legacy. And I read that book, and it changed my life. And then that's what opened up the curiosity. That's what opened up me educating myself and reading more books in reference to that.
Well, that was my final question, guys.
And I don't know if y'all kept hearing that dinging in the background. That just mean Willie making money.
I told you when the show started.
This is real here.
We are live on location, so if you heard any background noise, that was commerce taking place live in person.
All right, man. Thank you for sitting down with us, man. I guess that's a wrap, man. With the cook-up.
That is a wrap. If all hearts and minds are clear, we can get out of here.
Peace.
Vorieo Cigars, Cutters. It's a wrap.
Thank you.